What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it's time to give you my 2023 top 10 quarterbacks heading into the 2023 college football season. Basically, how this list is going to work and these top 10 countdown is going to work. We're going to give you 10 quarterbacks that I think have a really good shot, to have a really good season for their college team that they play for, and also maybe a chance to win the Heisman Trophy as well. We saw some great quarterbacks in 2022. We saw Caleb Williams take the Heisman Trophy last year, and he was definitely on one of my top 10 quarterback lists. I thought with Lincoln Riley coming into USC, I think he would definitely be a Heisman contender, and he definitely did win the Heisman Trophy. So definitely we're going to see a lot of quarterbacks that can really do that again this year. So we're going to give you top 10 quarterbacks. I really like to do this every single year now on this channel. So if you like these top 10 videos, make sure to get notifications right away to not miss a top 10 video on this channel. So we're going to get right into it here with my top 10 quarterbacks. And again, how this list works, I think these are quarterbacks that have really high expectations heading into 2023 and also for their team. And also, they could have a chance to win the Heisman Trophy. So we'll start with the top 10 here. We'll start from number 10 and we'll go right to the number 1. We'll start with number 10 here. And number 10 is going to be Jalon Daniels, a quarterback of Kansas. Looking at his stats from last year in 2022, he had 18 touchdown passes, only 4 interceptions, so he took care of the football pretty well. And he had over 2,000 yards of passing. And Jalon Daniels is definitely one of the best quarterbacks, I think, in Kansas history as of right now. You look at his season, like I just said, last year, only 18 touchdowns, but I think that number is definitely going to go up this year for him. He's definitely proven that he can really run the table for this Kansas team. And you look at his quarterback completion percentage, he had about 66% completion percentage. And I think that number is going to go up this year for Jalon Daniels. And if you didn't know, he's the brother of Jaden Daniels, quarterback of LSU as well. So we got both the Daniels brothers that are starting to play pretty well in college football, but especially Jalon Daniels of Kansas. I think he's probably one of the top quarterbacks, maybe one of those top 5 quarterbacks heading into next year in the Big 12. Don't really sleep on Jalon Daniels, but he's number 10 here on this list just because of the consistency from last year. So Jalon Daniels is my number 10 quarterback heading into 2023. Let's now go to number 9. And speaking of Daniels, it's Jaden Daniels, quarterback of LSU. You look at his stats from last year, 17 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and over almost 3,000 yards of passing last year. He had 2,919 yards of passing last year, and he completed 68% of his passes. So, yeah, Jaden Daniels had a pretty good season. I think with the help of Brian Kelly coming in, it's really helped him out, and I think he's going to have a really good season this year as well. I think both the Daniels brothers deserve a lot of credit this year, but Jaden Daniels, I think, is definitely kind of more consistent than his brother Jalon, but you look at him, with his turnovers, he only turned the ball over 3 times in interceptions, but that's not the only thing. The passing game's not the only strong thing about Jaden Daniels. It's the running game of his. He can run the football. He uses legs, and we saw that a lot from last year. If Jaden Daniels can really, stay consistent with the passing game and also can run the football pretty well, Jaden Daniels has a really good chance to be one of the top quarterbacks in the SEC heading into next year, and that's why he ends up here at number 9. And the interesting thing about this top 10 is that Jaden Daniels is the only quarterback on here on this list in the SEC. And I think with Jaden Daniels, he's the only quarterback that's probably going to be, pretty strong coming into this season. So I kind of expect him to be one of the top quarterbacks in the country, or actually in the SEC, I should say, heading into 2023. So Jaden Daniels is number 9 here on this list. Moving on to number 8 is J.J. McCarthy, a quarterback of Michigan. Looking at his stats from a year ago, he got 22 touchdown passes. He turned the ball over 5 times on interceptions, and he had over 2,700 yards of passing. And he had a 64% completion percentage as a quarterback. It may not seem really that good, but I think that percentage is going to go up this year for J.J. McCarthy. Again, last year he was just a freshman, so there really wasn't much, to talk about him. Of course, he was back up behind Cade McNamara, but he's gone now. So this will be a full-time year for J.J. McCarthy. If he can stay consistent and run the table, J.J. McCarthy is going to be a Heisman contender. I think, he is one of the top quarterbacks heading into the Big Ten next season, probably besides, some other quarterbacks that are very well experienced in the Big Ten. But Really, J.J. McCarthy is the only quarterback in the Big Ten that I really see having a good shot to have a really good season, and he's the only quarterback in the Big Ten I think I could see winning the Heisman Trophy as well. He took care of the football last year, 22 passing touchdowns. Again, that's pretty good stats, and also the yards, passing, that's really good for him as well. So J.J. McCarthy, definitely a top 10 quarterback heading into next year, and definitely one of the top quarterbacks heading into the Big Ten next season. Again, this will be a full-time year for him now in his sophomore season for 2023. That's my number 8 quarterback. Moving on to number 7 is Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman, quarterback of Notre Dame, transferring from Wake Forest. Look at the stats from last year for Sam Hartman. Pretty crazy numbers. 38 passing touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and over 3,700 yards of passing. He didn't have a good completion percentage, about 63%, but really doesn't matter for that percentage. I mean, this passing touchdowns numbers are crazy. Yes, he turned the ball over 12 times on throws, but it's not really about the turnovers. It's also about the touchdown passes. I mean, 38 passing touchdowns in 2022 is crazy. And now he's heading to Notre Dame with a lot of experience behind him. And I think that really bodes well for Notre Dame. I think that, this is a team that I'm really hyped up on heading into 2023. I think this team is going to be really good this year. And, with Sam Hartman coming in, the experience that he has with the quarterback position, it's definitely going to help out, this Notre Dame team a lot this season. So Sam Hartman had a really good season last year, 38 passing touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and over 3,000 yards of passing. One of the top quarterbacks besides Drake Maye from last year in the ACC, and besides, maybe Jordan Travis as well. But Sam Hartman definitely deserves to be a top 10 quarterback heading into this year. I think he was on my list last year as well, but maybe not. I think I'm probably wrong a little bit, but I think Sam Hartman is definitely a top 10 quarterback heading into 2023. So that's my number 7 quarterback. Moving on to number 6 is Cam Rising, quarterback of Utah. He had a pretty solid season last year, 26 passing touchdowns, 8 interceptions, took care of the football pretty well. He threw for over 3,000 yards on the season. He also had a 64% completion percentage. This is a veteran, well-experienced quarterback in Cameron Rising. He got hurt in the Rose Bowl game, though, against Penn State, and that kind of hurt their chances, to win that game. But Cam Rising's had an outstanding career at Utah. He's going to be really another one of those top quarterbacks in the Pac-12 this year, and obviously in the country, and obviously in all of college football. And definitely, really gives them hyped up for the season. This is a Utah team that should be really good once again on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, they should be really good. If the offense can really protect Cam Rising, they're definitely going to have a really good shot to give him a Heisman Trophy candidate spot. But Cam Rising definitely took care of the football last year. 8 interceptions is not going to get it done, but I think he deserves to be on this list once again. I had him on my list last year, and I still kind of expect him to be a top quarterback in 2023. There are a lot of quarterbacks, though, in the Pac-12 that are really, really close to him, and I think you're going to see mostly Pac-12 quarterbacks on this list, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But again, Cam Rising, top 10 quarterback, in my opinion, heading into 2023. Again, 26 touchdowns last year, 8 interceptions, 3,000 yards of passing, and 64% completion percentage. And, from 6 through 10, these are the quarterbacks I think has a really good shot to win the Heisman. But when you see on this list from 1 through 5, these are the quarterbacks. These 5 quarterbacks right here are definitely the best shot to win the Heisman Trophy in 2023. So we'll start with number 5. And number 5 is going to be Jordan Travis, quarterback of Florida State. He's definitely a top 10 quarterback heading into next year. You look at the stats from him last year, 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, really took care of the football pretty well. And he threw for 3,000 yards as well in the season. He had a 64% completion percentage. I think those numbers are really going to go up this year for Jordan Travis. Why? Because the veteran experience that Florida State's got coming back on both sides of the ball, especially on the offense, Florida State's going to be a really good team this year in the ACC, and they have a really good chance to win the entire ACC with no divisions in the ACC as well. But Jordan Travis is definitely a Heisman contender. I mean, like I said, if you see these quarterbacks from 1 through 5, they're definitely Heisman contenders as of right now. And Jordan Travis belongs in this top 5. He definitely deserves a lot of credit for what he's done at Florida State. He's had a, up and down career in the first couple years, and then, of course, last year was definitely his year. He took care of the football pretty well. He had a, 64% completion percentage. I think that percentage is going to go up this year as well. So Florida State definitely gives him a lot of credit, and I do give him a lot of credit as well. Again, 24 passing touchdowns and 3,000 yards on the season from last year for Jordan Travis. That's my number 5 quarterback heading into 2023. Number 4 is going to be Bo Nix of Oregon. Bo Nix, quarterback of Oregon in the Pac-12. Take a look at his numbers from last year. 29 passing touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 3,593 yards, but that's not the best thing about his stats from last year. It's the quarterback completion percentage. 71% quarterback completion percentage last year for Bo Nix. One of the top quarterbacks, I think, coming into, the Pac-12, maybe perhaps next year. But like I said, there's a lot of other quarterbacks out there that are really well-talented, like Bo Nix, like Cam Rising, for example, and we'll talk about the other two in just a minute. But Bo Nix is definitely a top 10 quarterback heading into 2023, and obviously a Heisman contender. Just like I said, from 1 through 5. All these quarterbacks you're seeing from 1 through 5 are definitely quarterbacks that can really challenge for the Heisman Trophy and are obviously Heisman contenders, and Bo Nix belongs on that list. I think he deserves a lot of credit for what he did last year, and he's definitely better than he was at Auburn as well. So I'm kind of expecting Bo Nix to be a top quarterback heading into 2023. Just the numbers last year just really tell the story. He's definitely going to be a top quarterback heading into 2023. Maybe the one of the top in the country, and obviously the top in the Pac-12. But like I said, there's plenty of other quarterbacks out there that maybe can challenge Bo Nix. And also in the Pac-12, there's definitely a lot of quarterbacks that can challenge him as well. So that's my number 4 pick, is Bo Nix from Oregon. Moving on to number 3 is Drake Maye, quarterback of North Carolina. I think people kind of expected him to be on this list. Look at his stats from last year. 29 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions. The insane yards of passing, though. 4,321 yards from last year for Drake Maye. And he had a 66% completion percentage as a quarterback. I tell you what, 4,000 yards on the season is pretty crazy for, Drake Maye. He definitely deserves to be in the top 5 here after what he did last year. I mean, 4,000 yards is going to get it done, and also he took care of the football pretty well. He had a tough time, though, in those last 3 games in the last part of the regular season, then, of course, into bowl season. But North Carolina, definitely is going to have a really good season if Drake Maye can stay consistent. And Drake Maye is definitely a top 5 quarterback and probably one of the top quarterbacks in the ACC heading into next year, besides Jordan Travis and maybe besides, Caleb Klubnik out of Clemson. But, there's definitely a lot of other quarterbacks in the ACC that could probably be good. But, Drake Maye, in my opinion, is one of the top quarterbacks heading into next season in the ACC conference. And you look at that number, 4,000 yards on the season from last year. That's a pretty crazy number there. That's really crazy yards there in the passing game. So number 3 is Drake Maye, quarterback of North Carolina. He's a serious Heisman contender heading into next year. That's my number 3 quarterback heading into 2023. Moving on to number 2 is Michael Pennix of Washington. Quarterback of Washington, you look at his stats from last year. He had 31 passing touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He threw for 4,000 yards as well at the 4,600-yard mark, and he had a 65% completion percentage. What a season Michael Pennix had last year. He came as a transfer from Indiana, and now in his year at Washington, he really shined last year in 2022. I think, the Heisman, listing, I think they kind of forgot about Michael Pennix. I think, that he kind of deserved to be on that Heisman Trophy list. He kind of deserved to be in the final 3, with Caleb Williams and obviously the 2 other quarterbacks and C.J. Stroud and Max Duggan. But I think Michael Pennix is definitely a Heisman contender heading into next year. He's definitely, one of those top quarterbacks in the Pac-12 besides, Cam Rising, Bo Nix, and obviously Caleb Williams. But Michael Pennix is definitely the top quarterback heading into next year, in my opinion. You look at just his stats from last year, 8 interceptions, took care of the football pretty well, 31 touchdowns, and 4,000 yards. And I think that percentage will go up as well for him. So Michael Pennix is my number 2 quarterback heading into next year. But my number 1 quarterback heading into next year in this top 10 quarterbacks heading into 2023 list is definitely going to be the defending Heisman Trophy winner, and that's Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, last year, 42 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions. and 4,537 yards and a 66% completion percentage. I think those touchdowns are going to be kind of similar to last year. I think he'll take care of the football pretty well this time. He had 5 interceptions last year. I think that will be a lesser number this year. And then, I think those yards passing will go up this year really big. I mean, I think, maybe he can make it to 5,000 yards. You never know, but I don't really think that's possible. But you never know about Caleb Williams. He's got the offense. He's got the receivers that he can go to in order to get some big passing yardage. And then, of course, the quarterback percentage, I think will definitely go up to about 70% for Caleb Williams. And let's be honest, he's just a junior heading into next year. If he stays for a senior season, that will be huge for this USC team, and a USC team that probably is a contender for the national championship and obviously for the college football playoff. But definitely Caleb Williams, with him being the Heisman Trophy winner from last year, he definitely deserves to be at number 1 on this list. So Caleb Williams is my top quarterback heading into 2023, and those are my top 10 quarterbacks heading into the 2023 season. Let me guys know what you think about these top 10 quarterbacks. Who do you think belongs on this list? What do you think who is an option here for these top 10 quarterbacks as well? Who do you think is a real Heisman contender? Who you think will live up to the expectations you see here on this top 10 list? And stay tuned here for more sports content on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.